them crying out for freedom.
Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy.
Now it's time to take a stand.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to our honorable political leader. She's in the house, people. The political leader is here. Thank you to our MPs, Dr. Rudal Munilal and Dr. David Lee, and of course, my senatorial colleague, Senator Anil Roberts. And just as the other speakers before me, as Dr. Munilal said, we are angry because many families are under pressure tonight in Trinidad and Tobago. For years, the UNC has been pointing out to the country the PNM blatant neglect of areas they classify as opposition territory. Roads are almost totally impassable. Water courses, rivers not maintained, mainly the south and central areas, destruction of those economies, those local economies, because the PNM downright refused to fix roads. Let us call it like it is. And this is Rowley and Rohan flood. This had nothing to do with anything else. They fixed nothing, they cleared no rivers, and tonight people are suffering because of their callousness. PNM refused to fix roads, to clear rivers, and they explained it as they don't care about that because that is as a result of people who have built on lagoons. This open, naked discrimination. They don't feel they have to respect anybody. So the current flooding hazard is as a result of the unwillingness, particularly over the last 7 years, to maintain and clean, dredge, and remove sedimentation buildup in the main water courses. And you would have heard the speakers before me saying just about the same thing, but we just have to reiterate. So this evening, Trinidad and Tobago is a disaster zone. I mean, my brother just texted me from Boston and said somebody told him there's flooding in Trinidad. So we are known for anything. We are known for our skills. We are known for our diversification. We are known for our football. All we are known for is crime and people house and their life floating away. Right? So tonight, we are all united because those who built on the Lagoon Bank and those in 7th Avenue Malik, those in Manzanilla with no access, or those in Lady Young Road, no access, those in Tabakeet, at Michael Gap, Brasso Village, or those in Valsay North, house flood out. Tonight we are united by a disaster caused by willful negligence, bad mind, callousness, and gross incompetence. Lives destroyed. Because PNM don't understand, the rain is an act of nature, but flooding is the result of gross PNM negligence and incompetence. Gross negligence. From the time I entered school in Charleville, at 5 years old, they told me it had 2 seasons, wet and dry in Trinidad. You all heard that? We are 2 seasons, wet and dry. And from time immemorial, every single government, during the dry season, they are preparing and taking mitigating actions because they know the wet will follow the dry. It's only in the Rowley PNM, they have no time for this. They did absolutely no work for all these years. And the Ministry of Works and Transport is led by a man who, in order to genuflect before his PNM masters, stood on a political platform throwing shade on his own race, claims he's the most honest Indian, which by implication is if you are not a PNM Indian, you're not honest. What we now know for certain is that he's really the most incompetent and dangerous Indian. That is what we know. Useless. He has the temerity when people live under pressure to say don't post no picture, because that is what they do. They hide everything. They are talking about people will panic, people in trouble, everything they work hard for floating away in flood waters, and you're telling them to keep it secret. Just this evening in El Carmen, a woman driving, going home, missed the edge of the road. She drowned, she didn't reach home. That is what is going on out there. Total chaos. And Hines and Alwari on Saturday night, dancing. Hines telling you, I'm going to do the Rasta dance. You understand? They care for nobody. It's the most heartless, cruel, disgusting group of people that we have ever had. So I saw Rohan on Friday saying when our MP Saddam Hussein was saying that he need pumps to pump out water in Arangua. What he said. He said, Rohan said, well, the pump's here and the water there. And the water need to meet to the pump. And the water ain't meeting heat pump. So I don't know if the council to pick up the water and take it to Rohan pump. I don't understand it. I mean, it's only Rohan and Rowley. I mean, in his cabinet, it's only quacks, invalids, and crooks. Pick up the worst that is trying to be able and put them inside that cabinet. And now they're talking all kind of foolishness. For years, I did no work. Right? It's either while people's lives are destroyed, Rohan too busy selling raffle tickets to build Balize House. Or so his master Rowley explained their mysterious source of fund. But as Dr. Munal said, that's another story. So there he stood puffed up and self-righteous in his incompetence, telling us that you need to bring the water to the pump. I really don't know. That is why it's water flooding and destroying your crops, breaking your house in multiple pieces, roads impassable. To go to see just now, we're taking 2 days. And yet, they show their naked bias and their meanness. I've said ad nauseum that an organization takes on the DNA of its leader. It mirrors, it mimics the behavior of their leader. So the most disrespectful, bold-faced, evil, cruel attitude of Rohan's leader is reflected in him. He cannot care less who, according to his leader, who live, and who dead. So while so much rain and flooding yesterday, an old lady from Prescott Lane, Tunapuna, died in a house fire because as someone said, welcome to Trinidad, where we are surrounded by water, flooded by water, but don't have water in our taps and hydrant. Today, whilst everybody flood, people drowned in water, every river burst their bank. At the press conference today, the Minister of Public Utilities telling us, he said, conserve water. Yes, you can't make this up. He said conserve water, and all around, every house like an island on its own. So we have lived through the horrors of the hours, the minutes, and precious seconds passing by with divers. You realize every speaker just talking about the same thing because we are hurt. It is just too much pain. You know, you sat there. We saw or heard about divers on standby, ready to save lives. And the PNM political appointee is not lifting a finger to save those lives. Last week, it did not have a dry eye. I mean, people were texting me and say, oh God, I wept so much when Christopher Bodram relived the horror of telling us why he's alive. And you could see the guilt. He just feels so broken. You understand? Yet, Paria personnel, who with the responsibility for managing incidents, could have told Trinidad and Tobago with arrogance and their PNM smugness, no remorse for their lack of urgency, their inhumanity, leading to the loss of 4 young lives. Michael Wee said Paria has done excellent. Children will grow up without fathers, wives without their husbands and main breadwinners, mothers without their sons. But for little Wee and his handlers at Paria, that is excellent. You see, the PNM has dropped the bar so low that to find people like little Paria Wee, we have to limbo below the white line in the road. When I was at the HDC and Dr. Munilal was the Minister of Housing, when rain set up, we know that Oropun flooding. We know Greenvale flooding. You know what happened? Not only were the pumps working, well maintained, and inside that river course, we put personnel on the banks of the river, waiting on the people's house. They were there waiting for flood to come. I went back, you know why we were compelled to do that? Not only responsibility, because, and I was looking back to see some write-up of our then Prime Minister. And in a Guardian, Tuesday, 3rd August 2010, a Michel Labor article, reported Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa says technical personnel will be looking at the Diego Martin River to determine what caused it suddenly to change its course. She made this comment yesterday whilst we're standing on what was once a lawn behind the Hassan Ali Street Diego Martin, home of a flood victim. The Prime Minister said, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, don't get mixed up. We want to give God thanks and praise. No lives were lost. We will continue to do all that we can. It is obvious the river changed its course and so on. She said she's sending officials will be looking on. They'll be looking at getting the river back on course while admitting, she said, we have to bring immediate relief. We have, what Kamla Prasad Bisesa said, we have to bring immediate relief. A lot of food stuff. Technical people will be looking at it. That was a Prime Minister. And that will be our next Prime Minister. She had a 29-seat majority, yet she didn't have enough votes in Diego Martin, not the East, West, and Central, to have won a seat there. But she found herself on the location, on the site, on the riverbank, in her boots, because there was human suffering. And that is what a prime minister does. That is how you use power. So we keep signaling to the country that what the PNM is doing, the manner in which they conduct their business is not normal. It is unacceptable. It is inhumane. They have normalized cruelty. They have normalized gross incompetence, corruption. As Dr. Mulal said, the Red House roof collapsed. When we had that Red House down to renovate, that Red House was supposed to be the parliamentary precinct. Not only that, the only reason we did not complete it was because we came upon, the people who were excavating, came upon some bones of the first peoples dating back 900 AD and 1400 AD. So we stopped out of respect. The UNC is a respectful group of people. So when you hear them jumping up and talking about we didn't finish it because we had to stop for 1.5 years to ensure that they could have exhausted the excavation. So so that's what we did then. And you know, of course, the media are asking them why the ceiling fall out, because they are taking a month, 30 days they said, and if they're taking 30 days, they're running down the clock into Christmas recess. So we are going to know the inside there for Christmas, still renovating. That ain't normal. If the good work was done, when they're telling them to save all this money, all they have done is to change scope. They changed the scope of work. What we were doing was a parliamentary precinct. They cut it down, and then did not supervise the work properly. So I want to tell you, when the time comes, we are going to get the budget. Because, you know, the media are questioning them, but when I was at HEC, there was a journalist who made a career out of calling me to ask if Dr. Munilal brother got any work at HTC. You said no. You know if he get any work with any contractor as a subcontractor? Can you imagine how far they were going to investigate and interrogate the UNC? But we don't behave like this Dale Singh wife. His brother never got a cent work. Because we are run by a woman who conducts herself properly. And what Rowley does, to make himself look big and feel big, he wants to bring her down small, talking about naivety and foolishness, but that can never diminish the majesty of her work. Every day he has to live with that work. Right? They promised, I said, the UNC and the Then People's Partnership, had already designed a 1,400-bed hospital for Port of Spain. 1,400 beds. They came to change it. They said they only do it with a central block. Now, of course, they fire the main contractor and then congregate, of course, a mishmash of their friends. I hope Unicot is aware that hospitals are the most complex and regulated building types. Hospitals are specialized construction, and over the years, standards and requirements of healthcare buildings and hospitals have become more and more complex and require deeper level of expertise. Unicot owes this country a duty of care, which means this facility should be constructed by personnel experienced in that. It has to be built to the highest code of safety. It means when everything falls down, hospital have to be standing up to provide shelter. So what it should not be is a safe haven to insert willing contributor to the PNM Balizé House Building Fund. It ought not to be that. Because I recall, Dr. Mulal, when we were doing the Couva Children's Hospital, there's a group called UE Seismic Research Center. They say it's on an earthquake belt or earthquake zone, and it got fall down and all kind of confusion. We went before the Joint Consultative Council and held many meetings, answered every question of our technical team, because that is the way the UNC conducts its business. We don't build roof that does fall down. And what I want to tell you, Nicot, I hope they know if it didn't fall within that 1 year period of liability, they have latent defect. Don't go and double dip and pay for that twice. We go find out when we come in, and we ain't gonna be pleased about that. That is a latent defect. Don't take on that cost. All right, so as I said, the then government of the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa the technocrats were already in talks with the government of the United Kingdom for government to government. And I can tell you, when Kamla Prasad Bisesa returns as the Prime Minister, the Port of Spain General Hospital will be a priority project, and it will be built in 24 months, just as the Couva Children's Hospital, within time and within budget, and built by people who know what they are doing. So, in addition to coal pot and bicycle, we really need Noah Ark with one Rohan and them have us going through outside of them. UNC is a party of love, justice, delivery, equity, and the Constitution. I mean, I recall, and leader, just allow us to advocate on your behalf, please. You don't talk about yourself. I recall in September 2010, there was heavy flood in a place called St. Joseph Village. That is Eastern Main Road, Laventille. Do you think anybody there vote for Kamla Prasad Bisesa? There was heavy flooding. And at 4 a.m., the Minister of Works and Transport called me. You know why? He got to work at 4 a.m. or thereabouts. That was one Jack Warner. He called me. He said, CEO, what time you going to visit the flood? This is the Minister of Works and Transport calling me to ask me. You know why he could have done that? That was standard operating practice with Kamla. It can't flood and you go. It cannot have flood and you show up. Everybody at the shop. By 6 o'clock. I mean, I got to work at 5, just in case you didn't know, madam. You know, in case I had to. I interviewing again. So when you become Prime Minister, I get to work at 5, you know. We may not have Jack, but I have Jearlean. It's all right. So I'm at work at 5 a.m. And he called, what time you going down to St. Joseph Road? I called the Minister of Housing. I said, what are we to do there? I said, okay. I told Minister Warner, I said, we let us let the day come, no man. We need to, when we go, we need to see. And by 8 o'clock, we were going through. I'm talking about water up to your knees. And Jack Warner and I are in that water. We are in that water because Kamla Prasad Bisesa is sitting in the seat of the Prime Minister. You had to go and do that. We went through. As a matter of fact, I saw a lady I had moved a week before. Lady in a thing there. When she see me, I hiding from the lady. I actually went to a house in Mova. The press called me. I went there Saturday. We moved the woman. I see the woman. When she see me, she say, oh God, Jearlean John, you bring me here to kill me. Because hiding. Because I see the woman under pressure. We went through that water. I spoke to Dr. Munilal, who spoke to the Prime Minister. We have to move them. That was 20 families. We have to, the entire downstairs of that St. Joseph Road. So we have to move them. Where are you going to move them? I said, well, we could go to Arapoon because we have units here. The people say our lives are in Port of Spain, children going to school in Port of Spain, jobs in Port of Spain. That's inconvenient. I said, well, all we have is LaSalle tourists. 2 senior members of the PNM called me and said, don't move them. Clean it up and put them back there. I said, our Prime Minister said to move them. Put them in LaSalle tourists. But LaSalle tourists had no lights and water at the time. The construction was complete, but we had no lights and water. Dr. Munilal called his cabinet colleague, the Minister of Public Utilities, one Emmanuel George. And we met there at 10 a.m. on the site. Emmanuel George, TL, Tech was everything. And by 4 o'clock that afternoon, Dr. Munilal, Minister Warner, Minister Emmanuel George, and the staff of the HDC, down on St. Joseph Road, packing up the people, moving them out, paying for transportation, moving them into their new community, into those brand new units, which they got at a very reasonable price. Those people did not vote for Kamla. But it didn't matter to her. That is not how the UNC does run its business. Under the instruction of the Prime Minister, we had to move them. Under 24 hours, they were moved. In February 2011, fire got it an IHEC apartment at a place called Balizy Avenue in Pleasantville. A Molotov cocktail was thrown in there. We had nothing to do with it. Mr. Manning was the MP for that area. He called the HDC. What are you going to do? I called Dr. Munilal, called his Prime Minister. What do you think we did? We moved every family, about 100 persons who were living in that building. They were affected and they were relocated to Taradale Heights. That is what we do. It doesn't matter if you vote for us or not. So what can you imagine if you vote for Kamla, what she going to do for you? Anila send fire Rowley. Can you imagine someone you have voted for, the heart just in the right place? And when you have trouble, you need someone, not only with brilliance, but someone with empathy. And because a leader, the organization takes on the DNA of the leader, everybody playing Trump and follow suit. Everybody must do. And I can go on and on. December 2011, an attack up on Parsley Street, up at Chumakak. 20 families, 2 babies died, and so on. When I got up there, they cussing me as if I throw the mullet, I fight and fly the place of fire. Cussing, I get it on. But under the instruction of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Housing, we were able to move the people up to Arapoon in brand new accommodation and on and on. That's the kind of leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar is. And that is the kind of government she ran. You know, wherever there was trouble, wherever people were vulnerable, we were there. We found ourselves, everybody from top to bottom. When the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar Indigo Martin in the mud, every man Jack Indigo Martin in the mud, everybody had to be there looking on. So Trinidad and Tobago, we are learning the hard way that when you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. Don't vote for Rowley PNM, then ask what the opposition doing. Anybody in the UNC lineup can do so much better than Rohan. They could do so much better than Alwari. Well, it ain't hard to be better than Hines. It ain't hard. It ain't hard. So Trinidad and Tobago, we are ready to work on your behalf, just as we worked before. To us, there's no red Trinidad and Tobago and no yellow Trinidad and Tobago. We see only Trinidad and Tobago because unity and equity are fundamental UNC values. Fundamental. UNC, do not run away from your values. Never mind what they say. And do not speak only to those who agree with you. Talk to everybody. Talk on behalf of everybody. Do unto others. That is our principle, anchored by Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Do unto others. I've never seen anybody so kind. Do unto others. Keep working. Let's keep fighting. All over the world, people are fighting for their rights. Today, surprisingly, in a place called Chongqing in southwest China, a maskless man was filmed shouting, "Give me liberty or give me death." And that's a rallying cry. Right now, they are protesting in China. So on the 10th of December, I just want to put a plug here. Put aside time to walk in the name of liberty, in the name of democracy, in the name of equity and the Constitution with Brother Victor Roberts, because nothing will change until the government, the PNM government, is changed. We want back Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I thank you.
If you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love.